Hello. It's the last live stream of the year, people. I mean, this is it. So we'd love to give you more, but this is the last concentrated set of games that we can provide for a slate. So we're going to go over everything that involves the five bowl games on the DraftKings main slate, as always. And we're going to dig deep, and hopefully we're gonna all come out of this profitable. But I'm always glad to say that I'm joined by my guy Josh Chevalier, who you can find on Twitter under the tag at CFF guys. So Josh, how's life treating you? And you got to be excited for this bowl season, right?
Oh yeah, man. It's been fun. It's been fun getting this bowl guide together and doing all that. And man, it's been a, a wacky start to the bowl. Bahamas Bowl always does something crazy, whether it's wind or matchups or whatever. So it's been fun so far. So I'm
Yeah,
excited for the rest. The other
yeah,
41
man.
bowls.
Brian Koback, you let me down, brother. You really did. So anyway, yeah,
Me
let's
too.
let's jump into some more positive stuff here. We really got we're going to have a lot of time to go over everything, but there's no reason to waste any time here because let's just play it by ear. Maybe we'll run out of time here towards the end, but I'll go ahead and jump into my ATS picks. But bef- before I do that, I do want to jump back just a step, just to talk about the bowl guide. We came out with version 3 today, and definitely want everyone to consider checking that out because it's got a lot of information in there that'll help you with your wagering. Josh, why don't you chime in on that and just go over what you'd like to share. I mean, because you're putting a lot of work in on this.
Yeah, I mean, I would say each game's gonna come with a game preview, and then we have our staff picks there at the bottom with MLS and against the spread, the money line. Sorry, using acronyms, and then we have player props as well, and those are being updated. So player props come out about 24 hours or so within the game time. Because they're trying to get them as accurate as possible on DraftKings, and so we'll be updating that guide pretty consistently with those player props. And so yeah, it's a fun time. And then you got some Debbie guys that you're throwing in there as well. And so man, it's kind of the best of the best. Preparing people for both bowls and making money now, but then also when draft season comes around, really again giving them a head start on their dynasty leagues as well. So I'm enjoying writing it. Kevin's done an amazing job as well. So it's been really fun. So
Yeah,
yeah.
if you caught the live stream I did with Kevin, this guy is just he's very knowledgeable. He's on his game. You can always count on that. So okay, so we'll actually be providing a lot of content here to go along with the bowl guide, at least for these 5 games. And as far as my ATS picks go, I'm going to start at Fresno State. They're favored by 11 and a half against UTEP, which this is a massive. They're just massively going to overwhelm this Miners team. And in the New Mexico Bowl, the Bulldogs, they're 8-4 against the spread this year. They only lost by 7 to Oregon. They beat UCLA. They beat Nevada. They beat San Diego State by double digits, and most recently beat San Jose State by 31. I mean, this is a good team. Jake Haener is an NFL quarterback. Now, there is some uncertainty there at the quarterback position. We'll get into that later, but I'm still feeling really good about Fresno State. I'll feel a lot better if Hayner plays, but so definitely want to follow along and see what the update is there. The next game, Utah State favored by a touchdown against Oregon State in the I love this the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. That's the first time we'll be using that name there. But it's going to be an annual thing. The Aggies are 9-4 against the spread, and we saw in their in the conference championship. I mean, this Utah State team they're on fire right now, and they also beat Washington State 26-23. I believe that was in either week 0 or week 1. And this Oregon State team, I like some individual players on that team, but I think they're pretty vulnerable here in this spot. I think Utah State. That offense is just firing. The defense played really good, and what bothers me about the Utah State defense is how much San Diego State struggled to run the ball in that game. And San Diego State, I mean, they've always been a run heavy team, and they weren't able to get it done on the ground, and that concerns me for Oregon State. That's what they like to do. So this is a game where I think Utah State is going to at least finish within 7 points. So I'm taking Utah State there. Finally, I'm going Louisiana. They're giving 4 points to Marshall in the New Orleans Bowl. The Raging Cages are only 6-7 against the spread, but they beat Appalachian State twice by 28, and then in the conference championship by 8. They beat Troy by 14, and they also beat Liberty by 28. This is a really good Louisiana team. I believe they're 13-1, either 12-1 or 13-1. So they've been on a roll. They've been running the ball like crazy. I believe is it Chris Smith? He's out today, right? So
Yep.
that's something, but they've done just fine with Montreal Johnson, and the other name eludes me. We'll get into that in a little bit, but they've been moving the ball. Plus, Levi Lewis is able to move the ball on the ground, and I think Marshall they're a decent team, and I do if it was any higher, I probably wouldn't have gone with this, but 4 points, I think that's enough for me to go Louisiana's direction. So, Josh, why don't you jump into your three total wagers, please?
Yeah, for me, I'll start with the UTEP Fresno game. Yeah, I think I love your against the spread pick there, and I think this game's going to go over. In fact, the line opened at 51, it's moved up to 52. So I think there's other people that feel the same way on that one. I just think UTEP's not a very good team, and I think they're going to get exposed a little bit by Fresno today. Fresno's played together for a long time, that core. So I really like the over here at 52. And then next one is Utah State, Oregon State. So I got the total at 67.5. And I think I'm gonna pick under on that one. So I think it could be close to that, but I do think you're right. I think Utah State is improved quite a bit defensively as they've taken to Banda's the defensive coordinator, as he's taken to his defense. He's a Manny Diaz disciple. And so, man, they're aggressive, and when they're on, and they seem to be clicking on all cylinders. So, I like that game to go under. And then the Liberty Eastern Michigan game is at I have it at 58, and so I think that's going to be under. I don't know. I'm a
Yeah, what's
little
going
bit
on with Malik Willis? It's
I'm
concerning.
It's concerning. Yeah. And I don't know if he's going to run a lot in this game. I mean, he should, but I just don't know, like, with his draft stock, I don't even know if he's going to play the full game. Like, who
Yeah,
knows so the unpredictability of Malik Willis, which is what their offense is predicated on, makes me hesitant to go over here. So I'm going to go under on that game. Just really just a feeling premonition, but also, man, that's a lot of points to score in a bowl game too.
yeah,
Regardless, when Malik Willis, healthy or not, well, not healthy, but playing or not, he's been struggling with that ankle injury ever since that North Texas game. So
yeah.
he's just hasn't been running the ball as much. So
Yeah, well, and his ground game efficiency is just it's face planted. I mean, what something around 3 yards per carry over the last I
yeah,
don't know how many games. It's been pretty bad. 800 rushing yards on the year, but and that's a little misleading. A lot of that came early, but we'll get into that. We'll
yep,
dig into that because I have a lot to say about that
yep,
situation for Liberty. But let's jump over to UTEP, the Miners at the Bulldogs, Fresno State. I don't even know how to say this. I don't even know what company this is. The PUBG Bowl Mobile, PUBG Mobile, New Mexico Bowl. Excuse me. It's a 2:15 start. University Stadium. And we're going to have, I'm a little surprised here that Fresno State was paired up with the Miners because of how well they played. I think they deserved a little bit better opponent. So that's a little concerning on the UTEP side, honestly, and will definitely probably lean that direction. But it looks like UTEP, like we said, they're minus 11 and a half underdogs, and 52 point over under. So, Josh, why don't you dig into your plays for us, please?
Yeah, I mean, going into yesterday, I was pretty confident in Jake Hayner at 7.9K. If he plays, I really like his value in this game. I mean, I think, like I mentioned before, I don't think UTEP is a very good defensive team. I think their strength of schedule has been pretty weak overall. And I think when they have played good teams, they've struggled. And so
123rd out of 130, by the way.
yeah. So, I mean, in Hayner again, if Hayner's playing, then there's enough continuity within that offense. They've been playing together enough that I'm not really too concerned about DeBoer not calling plays and that type of stuff. Um, so I like Hayner at 7.9K, and then I do like Jalen Cropper at 7K, but I feel comfortable. Hayner, I feel comfortable. GPP cash. Cropper for me is I like him in cash, but I really like him in GPP. I mean, I think he's been a bit volatile.
Mm-hmm.
As Hayner to me is in DeBoer's offense, he's a little bit like a point guard where he's pretty evenly distributing the ball. And like so different guys go off different weeks. And certainly Cropper's better than the rest for sure. But I mean, just listen in the last, this last game against San Jose State, he had 28 points, but before that, it's 9.5, 6.8, 14, 9.5, 12.2, 7.2. So he hasn't hit value since week 4, other
Good
than the San
stuff.
Jose State game.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Cropper, and I think this is a good matchup for him, but he doesn't come without some concern to really hit value. So GPP, yeah, I mean, he can go off for 40 points, but cash, a little bit more hesitant. So if I'm going to go lower, then then I think a guy like Josh Kelly is somebody worth considering. But again, they're distributing the ball so much that Fresno State wide receivers just tough to trust in cash. Um, and then Ronnie Rivers at 6.1K. He's a guy, he gets involved in the passing game. He's a good dual threat guy. Um, but I think he again last game he had 26.6. He's gonna hit double digit. He's hit double digit in every game since week 5. But but those double digits are 13.6, 12.3, 14.0. So they're not exactly hitting value. But I do like Ronnie Rivers as far as a consistent guy. So I would play him in cash or GPP, but I actually might trust him more in cash because of his solid floor. And then on the other side, UTEP, man, Jacob Cowing is like one of those guys that I feel like is super under the radar, where he's averaging 23 points a game. But you just don't hear about him a lot. He's only 6.4K. So in the last like 3 or 4 weeks, he's put up just monster numbers. Honestly, like he's had 2 30+ point games, and his lowest output is 18.2. And I think we both like the 11.5 point spread for Fresno. So UTEP's gonna have to throw the ball here, and I think Cowling's the clear number 1 receiver. And at 6.4K, I think he's really good value. And then you have Justin Garrett at 4.7. They really, they like to depend on both Cowing and Garrett. So I think Garrett at 4.7K is also a good value here. Um, yeah, because I think I think his lowest output over the last 5 games is 3 receptions, but he's getting between 5 and 7 receptions a game, other than, 1 game. So, from a PPR standpoint, he's pretty solid as well. So definitely, I would probably feel more confident in Garrett putting him in cash GPP. I mean, I think you could, um, but Cowing is just, he's just sitting right there. And I don't know if both of those guys go off, but I definitely feel confident about Cowing. And I think if you have, for me to say that, I think Gavin Hardison at 5.6K is somebody worth considering. He certainly puts up, from a yardage perspective, he puts up numbers, but then He just doesn't get the touchdowns. And I think he's got 17 touchdowns on the year. Um, but I think they're gonna have to pass a lot. And at 5.6K, it's not gonna take a lot to hit value here. So if you want a cheaper option at QB, he's the guy that I'm going with. Although, we'll talk about it, later on, but there's other quarterbacks I like in the 7K range that make it hard to go down to Gavin Hardison at 5.6, but I could definitely see where he could have value. So
Yeah.
running backs, I'm avoiding. A Watt Hankins is back, and so A Watt Hankins, you know, they're going to split carries and at 5 point whatever they're at 5.5, 5.7K. I don't trust them. So what
Yeah.
you got?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more on Cowing. He's cash all the way. I didn't post the ownership percentages, but I'll try to go over them as I go through the plays. And I just see so much potential here. Cowing is so good. One of the top receivers in the country is efficiency wise this year. This guy's going to play on Sundays. He's only 6.4K. He's only going to be owned in 12% of leagues. Now we're in a 5-game slate. So a lot of what we do in cash is going to be dictated by these ownership percentages, because there's only so many guys on the slate. So we need to heavily factor that. So let's compare that to like a guy like Jalen Cropper. He's at 17%. It's like, but a lot of people are aware. They're looking at the same box score totals. They're looking at the
Yeah.
same numbers, and they're seeing that Cropper hasn't been consistent. And 17% is not very high. Cropper is a guy that you could use in a GPP, but and he's got one of the highest ceilings on this slate at wide receiver. But he's also got a pretty low floor here at a 7K salary is a concern. But yeah, I mean, I feel so confident in Cowing. He's my lock of the day at wide receiver. I'm just throwing that out there. Cowing is he's a beast, man, and he's only at like I believe he's 5'11", 170. He came into college football as an unrated prospect. I mean, this kid is about as an underdog story as it gets. And I mean, I love this kid. I'm not going to go out and pick him in the first or second round of my Debbie draft or anything crazy, but you don't have to, because nobody even knows who he is mostly. This is a guy you could pick up in the late rounds of your Debbie drafts, and just just knowing he's going to get a shot in the NFL. Just he's been so good. He's a slot guy. He's not somebody you're going to line up on the outside up against William Jackson the third or freaking guys like Jamel Dean or anything. But he's a guy that has the quickness to do well from the slot, and he's a big reason why this team won 7 games. So yeah, Jacob Cowing all the way. Justin Garrett, yeah, he's a bigger guy, but the salary obviously states that he's at 4.7K, 14%. You could throw him into a GPP, but the problem here with UTEP is the quarterback. Hardison is a guy. I mean, he could go for 20, but I'm not gonna wager that he's gonna do that. Let's
Right.
move on. This Fresno State team, I love it. I think it's one of the juggernauts of the group of five. And Jake Hayner, like I said, he's an NFL talent. He's going to be owned. Looks like about 21%. Who's the guy that would play back? Who would play if he didn't? Let's
I think
see
it's
here.
Logan Fife.
Logan Fife. Here, let me get you his ownership percentage. I don't have that right now. I'll look that up when Josh is going over his next game here. So Ronnie Rivers, he's going to be at 22%. He's a guy that I think that we want to have in our cash lineups. This is one of the biggest mismatches on the slate. It's 6.1K. He's a value. He's a good guy to have in there. He had some injury concerns earlier in the year that don't. I think he missed like one game, and then he was limited in several others. So it's not the same Ronnie Rivers that we've seen, and that's unfortunate because he came back because he had that additional year of eligibility due to the COVID situation, and it just sucks it didn't work out for him. But I think we will see him on Sundays. I think he's not going to be a guy that's going to take over your fantasy league. Don't count on that. But he's going to play a role as a scat back in the NFL. I think I don't see him as an early down option. But then again, I've been wrong. I didn't see Michael Carter as that kind of guy, but he's done an okay job for the Jets. So I still think he's miscast as an early down guy, though, similar to Miles Gaskin in Miami. I just can't believe he's lasted that long there. But I think Ronnie Rivers is that type of player. I think he's going to go up to the NFL and he's gonna play a decent role there. And I think at 6.1K in this game against UTEP, which I don't care what the rankings are for their defense. They've lost some games pretty badly this year, but then they've won their 7 games. They deserve to be here, but I think they were more deserving of a matchup with a team that wasn't as good as Fresno State, and they don't come anywhere close to matching up with the Bulldogs' offense. This offense is loaded. Jalen Cropper is gonna play in the NFL. I don't care how inconsistent he's been. He's an NFL prospect. This kid's got some electric skills, So I think he's definitely gonna be some up there on Sundays. But I'm not paying 7K for him. I think if Hayner plays, you could consider him more for cash at 7K. But I think I'm gonna fade him. Another guy though, Jordan Mims. He's put up some numbers. He's done. I think he's established himself as requiring some touches in this offense when Rivers was dinged up, and he's only going to be owned in 3% of leagues. So I think you could throw him into a GPP, and I'm sure our GPP faithful will like to have us go over those guys because we don't just want to tailor to the cash crowd here. Not that saying you have done that, Josh. Just saying, yeah, a guy like Jordan Mims he's going to be probably under that. I'm gonna say he's going to be under like 2%. I don't think anybody's going to be on him this week. I think that ownership number is a little high based off of the touches that he got when Rivers was dinged up. I think it's going to be lower than that now that people are seeing that Rivers is healthy again. So, but I still think he gets enough touches to have GPP consideration. So let's jump ahead to the next game. Now, this is a bowl game. I like this one. The Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. This is a good one. The UAB Blazers at the BYU Cougars. And I was a little salty with the Cougars with their injury reporting this year. I'm going to throw all that out here because we need to come into this game fresh. There's no reason to hold that against any of the individual players, and they've had some time to get healthy. So I think this is a good one, and this is one I almost went with as for my against the spread picks. UAB 9-3 against the spread this year, which is an amazing number. So 3:30 start, Independence Stadium. The BYU comes in as 6.5-point favorites. UAB is but UAB is a top 5 defense, man. I'm talking both run and pass. They've got some NFL talent on that defense, and but that's the thing about bowl games. You can have all the NFL talent you want. These guys are coming out to play. You can count on that. And it looks like we're going to have an implied total of 55 points. So, Josh, why don't you go over this game for us?
Yeah. So for this game, I'll start with UAB. I mean, Dwayne McBride has been incredible over the last half of this season. And honestly, like going into this game, I didn't think he was going to play because, I watched the UTEP game. I saw his ankle get rolled up on in a 60-something yard run, and it looked nasty. And so, but he's playing. Apparently, he's a full go. And if he's playing, he's got to be in our lineups at 4.8K. And cash or GPP. I mean, I'll give you the last 6 games. He's gone 24.4 points, 21.5, 48, 25.8, 25.1, and then went out in the first quarter of the UTEP game. This gives you a little indication of UTEP, but he scored 15.9 in the first quarter. So this guy has just been unbelievable since he's gotten his fumbling issues under wraps over the first 2 or 3 games of the year. And so I really like Dwayne McBride a lot at 4.8K. And, I think the rest of the UAB team, I think Jermaine Brown at 4.3K, you could consider him in GPP or cash. I mean, he does get, well, not cash, sorry, GPP. He does get a fair amount of carries behind Dwayne McBride. I think they run the ball like 55% of the time. So they're a run team. And so you can consider Jermaine Brown, particularly if, I don't know, if they're lying about McBride being full go, then Jermaine Brown's going to get a good amount of carries. And he had, I think, like 98 yards and 3 touchdowns last game. So, and then I at wide receiver, I would say Trey Shropshire is a to me, he's a great GPP stab in a game like this where, I mean, they're going to have to throw the ball. And Trey, he's a deep threat all the way. And he's had some big games this year where he's put up, some good numbers. I think he's got, just like against UTSA in week 12, he had 31 points. He had 3 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Before that, he had 2 catches, 100 yards. Earlier in the year, he had 5 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. So he's got some explosive games for a guy that's going to be 4.6K. So in GPP, I think Trey Shropshire's worth a look. On the other side of the ball, against BYU or for BYU, sorry, I like Jaron Hall a lot at 7.3K. I mean, I think they're going to be able to move the ball against this UAB defense through the air, and he's a dual threat guy, so he can do it both ways. And 7.3K is a good value on this slate. So I have him in several of my lineups today. So I really like him. And then pairing him at wide receiver, man, Puka Nakua kind of has snuck up on me over this last half of the year, where he's put up some really solid games. And he's the Washington transfer. He's a big time recruit coming into Washington, and he's done really well. The last 4 games, he's put up 30.5 points, 27 points, 27.3, and then 14.2. And then you have Neil Paiu, who's going to be out of this game. I don't know if that's how you say his last name, but he's going to be
that or Powell, one or the other.
Powell. Okay, Powell. He's going to be out, and now he's a slot receiver. So Samson Nakua, Puka's brother, is going to be playing in the slot for him. But Puka, man, at 4.9K, he's great value in this game. Cash or GPP. He's you talked about Cowing as your lock of the week. Nakua is my lock of the week here. At 4.9K. And then Keanu Hill has come on over the last few weeks. He's a freshman receiver that's really done some great things. And at 4K, he's a great value as well. And then Samson Nakua is 3K, and he's the replacement. I think he got for Neil, he played last game. I think he got something like 70 snaps in that game. So he's on the field all the time. Keanu and Puka are rotating on one side with Gunnar on me on the other side on the outside. So Samson's going to get he's going to be on the field a lot. He's not getting a ton of targets necessarily. I mean, those are going to Hill and Puka, but at 3K, I mean, he's definitely worth considering in your lineup because he only needs 9 points to hit value. And then he allows you to spend up on, the Ronnie Rivers of the world or Rasheen Ali's that we'll talk later about. So, and then, Tyler Algier, at 8.6K, he's just too high for me. It's not that I don't think he's good. There's other running backs I like better that are cheaper. I mean, just quite frankly, like a Dwayne McBride. But then also this UAB defense is good, and particularly against the run. So I'm not saying Algier can't get 100 yards and a touchdown, but that's still not going to hit value at 8.6K. So I'm staying away from Algier in both cash and GPP.
Okay, so for me on the UAB side, Dylan Hopkins, I don't want anything to do with him in the field. They're not going to be on him. He's going to be at like 5%. Dwayne McBride, we were concerned about that ankle coming in, but I think the pricing kind of went along with the fact that there was concern about his injury. But he's a motivated guy. But he's only going to be at 15%. So there's going to be some running backs on this slate that we'll get to. They're going to be like over 40%. So that's an issue in cash. Because if those guys do well and we take a stab at somebody under like Ronnie Rivers and he didn't do it, I mean it's going to hurt us. So it's something that we can consider. I think what we need to do is we need to go with at least one of those 45% running backs, and maybe two, but we'll get into that. But I think at the flex, I think you can comfortably go with a guy like Dwayne McBride and at 15% with that 4.8 salary relief there. It's awesome. But then again, you're gonna have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with McBride or Ronnie Rivers? It's a tougher matchup for McBride. And not that the BYU run defense is great or anything. They're not. But this is a tested BYU team. They played a crazy schedule. They played
Yeah.
USC, Washington State, Baylor, Boise State. They played Arizona State. They played Utah. They played Arizona. I mean, but they're an independent. They're not technically a group of five. But it's just so crazy because we had Zach Wilson coming out, and during the evaluation, we're like, man, he just really the team. They didn't play a tough schedule, and then the games that he did play, he didn't play that well against Power Five teams, and then it looks like this year they kind of did away with that type of scheduling, because this has been a great year for BYU. I mean, and they're sitting at 10-2, so this has been a good situation. They're also ranked 13th, like that matters at all. But Jaron Hall, I think he's really impressed a lot of people here with his play. But just to close off here with UAB, Jermaine Brown. The thing about him, he's pretty versatile, man. Because if he's not being featured in the backfield, they'll line him up in the slot, and he'll take some wide receiver reps. But we just need to ask ourselves, is it going to be enough? So I think he's more of a wide receiver stab, because it looks like McBride's going to be 100%. And then I agree with you, Trey Shropshire's, and you can say that last thing three times. 4.6K. He's going to be about 4% owned. He's a great GPP stab there, but I'm staying away from Hopkins. I don't know about that guy. He's not really impressed me in the games that I've seen him play. But on the Cougars side, Jaron Hall, like I said, he's a good talent. Only 23% owned, but that's right around the Jay Kaner range. We're only going to see a couple of quarterbacks highly owned on this slate. One of those is Malik Willis, so we'll get into
Mm.
that. But Puka Nakua, yeah, absolutely. This guy, I think needs to be in all of our cash lineups. This guy's he's gonna do really well here, and yeah, he is in my cash lineup along with Cowing. But yeah, Tyler Algier, he did really well, and I think a lot of people they're going to click on his name, and they're going to see what he did against USC when he went for 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, 35 receiving yards, 5 receptions, 34.6 points. Be like, oh, look at that. He's doing it against a good team. But then you go back to like the Arizona State or the Arizona game, the Utah game, the Arizona State game, the Boise game. He under 20 points. We need somewhere in the neighborhood of just under or just over 25 points here from him, and or yeah, something around that range. But and then he did against Washington State. He went for 36.4, and then against Virginia, he went for 65. You know what I mean? This guy has got a ceiling that's way up there. But this UAB defense is no joke. They're far better than Virginia. That he's not putting up 65 points against UAB. So I'm struggling with it as well. He's going to be about 19% owned. So I think he's a guy that we can fade comfortably in cash, and just be a guy that we consider in a GPP if we wanted to take a stab. I do like Gunnar Romney. I just don't like the 6K salary. I think that there's, if I'm given 6K to any receiver, it's going to be Cowing. So I think he's a GPP only guy. And then along with Keanu Hill, he's been just a great addition for this team. He's 4K, and he's only going to be 4% owned. He's going to be an excellent large field GPP player there. So definitely want to consider him. The loss of Isaac Rex, man, that really sucks for BYU. They're going to be playing their fullback here as their starting tight end, which we can comfortably fade there. And then Samson Nakua, like you said, he's coming in at 3K. Somebody you could take a stab at in a large field. But jumping ahead, we have Eastern Michigan Eagles at the Liberty Flames in the Lending Tree Bowl. So 5:45 p.m. start. We're gonna have late payouts again because this one's all over the time frame. At Hancock Whitney Stadium, Liberty comes in 9.5 point favorites, which I agree with. I think they're going to take this game. I just have concerns about Willis, or I would consider wagering a little more. Highly here, but Liberty, they've really underperformed this year, so we'll see. But the quarterback situation in Eastern Michigan's been disappointing. So the over/under set at 57.5. Josh, why don't you please run down your plays in this one?
Yeah, I'll start with Liberty here. I mean, Malik Willis for me is mainly a GPP play. I just don't trust him in cash the way that he struggled the last few weeks, and obviously competition went up. And Eastern Michigan's not great, but for all the reasons we talked about in the intro to the show, like he's not running as much, he's not running as effectively. Well, he's running as much, he's not running as effectively. I should say it that way.
Yeah.
And um, and I don't know. I mean, they're just on a downward trajectory over the last, several weeks of the season. And so, at 8.7K, I think, and I think that you're going to have to get not a shootout, but you're going to have to score points. And Eastern Michigan, Liberty's a top, they're a top pass defense in the nation, at least, but statistically. And I don't know if Eastern Michigan's going to be able to throw the ball on them. That's mainly what they do. So I just don't see where Malik Willis is going to have to do enough in this game to hit value at 8.7K. So he's just a guy that, and again, like multi-entry GPP, yeah, I'll throw him in there. But in cash, he's a guy that I'm staying away from on this slate. And honestly, with not that I'm fading all the Liberty running backs. And then at wide receiver, CJ Daniels is a guy that I would consider in a GPP. I mean, he's a guy that's had some really big games this year, but also has had some clunkers. Like really, that like Liberty, all wide receivers to me are GPP because they're just so inconsistent. Last game Daniels went 118, and he had 22.8 points. But then the game before, he had one catch for 9 yards. And the game before that, it's like one catch for 7 yards. Like, what are we, there's no consistency with these guys. And then Kevin Shaw's another one that at 4.2K, I consider. I mean, he's a guy that of all the receivers, he seems to get the most work, and that's 3 to 4 catches a game. I would consider him in a cash lineup. GPP, I just don't know if he has the ceiling that you could really consider him. But again, there's other guys like Keanu Hill that I like a lot more than a Kevin Shaw at 4.2K, to be honest. Those are the only guys I'm considering. On the other side of things, Ben Bryant, man, he's a hard fade, even at 6.1K. He's a guy that I want to like,
Hmm.
but because he had some really good games this
He
year.
has a lot of weapons.
Yeah, but the last two games, I think he's scored a total of like 13 fantasy points. And so it's just tough. And I think a lot of where his production comes is thrown to Hassan Beydoun and Tanner New, who are two slot receivers that he just constantly peppers with targets. But they're basically wide receiver screens. Or you're not going very far downfield with any of those guys. And so I don't see Ben Bryant, even at 6.1K, which has enticed me over the last few weeks, he's just a guy that I'm not willing to take a shot on against this Liberty defense that, is only giving up 176 yards a game. Now, again, like their strength of schedule is not great, but Eastern Michigan's not a great team either.
Hmm.
And so, but Hassan Beydoun and Tanner New, like both of those guys are guys I would consider
Hmm.
and cash and GPP because they just get peppered with so many targets. I like Tanner New a little bit better. I mean, he came on, he was injured for the first 2/3 of the season, but did come back. And he's averaging, I think, like 16 points a game and has hit, I think, double digit in every game since he's been back. He had a 9.5 game, but then the other three games he had 17.5, 26.7, and 14. So at 5.4K, he's a guy that I'm probably going to go for in a cash lineup over a Beydoun because of his consistency and because he's 1.2K cheaper. I can find value there. I just find better value there. But both of those guys, I would consider. The rest of the team for Eastern Michigan, I would fade. No running backs I like, and Dylan Drummond's just too inconsistent. He basically follows Ben Bryant and with his consistency, or inconsistency, I should say.
Hmm.
So
All right, so I'm going to start with the basics here. So, yeah, you mentioned the strength of schedule. Liberty's play the 97th in Eastern Michigan, the 122nd. Again, out of 130 teams, it's not that great. On the Eagles side, it's criminal that Ben Bryant was able to steal away the starting job from Preston Hutchinson after the Wisconsin game. I mean, did we expect Eastern Michigan to beat Wisconsin? You know, I don't think so. I don't care that they scored 7 points. The coaching staff should be ashamed of themselves. Preston Hutchinson was a legitimate quarterback prospect, and they probably destroyed his prospect. The luster on his prospect status by putting Ben Bryant in over, and Ben Bryant has a 0% chance to play in the NFL. This guy he's not a good player. And Preston Hutchinson was, I mean, he scored over 30 points, 30 fantasy points a game last year. It was a shortened schedule, but I don't care. He set he took the MAC by storm last year. I'm ashamed of this Eastern Michigan coaching staff for doing that. But that's reality. So instead of Baydoun New and Drummond, just getting some legitimate targets from Hutchinson, we're stuck with what we have. And the passer rating under pressure for Bryant is 50.9. And I mean, this guy's as likely to throw an interception as he is a touchdown. It's disgusting, truly disgusting. Then their backfield. They're featuring Samson Evans when Jawan Hamilton just led them to an upset over, I believe it was Central Michigan. Let me see, Western Michigan, 22-21 with 179 yards. And then and then Samson Evans comes back as the starter against Central Michigan, and they lose 31-10. But that said, I think Juwan Hamilton is worth a GPP stab because we might see that coaching staff actually make a good decision and say, you know what, there was something to this kid, and they might and let's give this kid some featured reps against Liberty, see what he can do. If he's a special talent, we might have something here as a GPP dart throw. So somebody definitely worth considering there. I think Baydoun, for me, it's the opposite. I like Baydoun more. I do think Tanner New came out and has played really well, and he'll be the highest at 27%.
mm.
So you're not going to catch anybody by surprise with Tanner New, but 19% for Baydoun. I think he's also in play in cash. Somebody that just gets a lot of volume. He's a threat for 10 receptions in any game. Excuse me. I like him a lot, but I also like New. I think both of them are cash guys. But like you mentioned, that their air yardage just isn't there. It's all like short little drop offs. It's like the Ben Roethlisberger prior to Week 10 offense, just snap and throw, snap and throw. It's just not enough for Bryant to even come close to being a good quarterback. It's like you could probably put in some of a wide receiver there at quarterback to do that. And then you definitely don't want to play Samson Evans. This guy is, I mean, he's proven time and again to just be a dud. So you want to fade him completely, and the field's going to be doing the same thing. I'm shocked 10% of the field is going to be putting Ben Bryant in their lineups. So anyway, moving on, 64% of the field is going to be going with Malik Willis at 8.7K. Now, I will say, looking at the schedule, he has not played the easiest 3-game stretch here. He's gone up against Army as a decent. Let me get that out there. So Malik Willis, some scouts, some, not all, believe Malik Willis is the number one pick. I'm not there. I've never been there. I do think he's like a second round talent. If he would have stayed at Auburn and put up these numbers, sure, yeah, first round talent all the way. He went to Liberty. Okay, Liberty does not play a tough schedule. Yes, they're an independent, but they're not they're not putting down some crazy schedule that deserves this much attention. I've got to just there's a handicap there, in my opinion, when you're looking at these group of five guys. And I'm sorry, but that's what I consider Liberty. They're a group of five team. I think they've been helped as much by their defense as they've been by getting a highly recruited high school quarterback to come over. but they have played Army. But let's remember Sam Hartman obliterated Army, right? And then here comes Malik Willis with 6.6 yards per attempt, one touchdown and one interception against them. Okay, Sam Hartman is a legitimate. I'm talking. I think he's a first round quarterback. Malik Willis is not. I'm sorry. And the fact that he's owned at 6.4K has to be tied to his rushing ability. And, he's rushed for around 21 carries a game over the last 3 games. But then they also played Louisiana and they played Ole Miss. Those are some legitimate defenses there,
Mhm.
especially going up against Liberty. Just saying that. I'm lukewarm here because I mean, we're gonna need somewhere around what 26 points here for 26 point whatever for Malik Willis.
Mhm.
I think he can get there. I do. But I don't think he's a guy that's going to go for like 40 points here. So at that 64%, yeah, I maybe 30%. I don't think it should be that dominant of a decision. But if he goes off here, we're going to regret it. So
Yeah.
I still think he's in cash consideration. CJ Daniels is the wide receiver one here. Again, CJ Daniels struggled, but consider the opponents that he played. He played against the same schedule with Army and Louisiana and Ole Miss, and then against UMass, they didn't need to do anything. But it is concerning that when they lost to Louisiana Monroe, that he was shut down there. So that is a concern. He did score a touchdown, but 2 catches isn't going to get it done. And then he flopped against Middle Tennessee State, but they just beat Toledo. So it is what it is. I still think CJ Daniels is the kid there that has the most potential. Okay. And Demario Douglas is, he's also somebody that they feature there in the passing game. I like Kevin Shaw as well at 4.2K. He'll be about 8% owned, but Douglas will be up 5%. Another situation I don't understand is how Liberty hasn't seen what Shedro Lewis, is it Lewis or Louise, whatever, uh,
Yeah.
what he brings out of that backfield. I just haven't seen it. Joshua Max coming in at 15% ownership at 4K. No way, guys. Fade
He
Joshua Mack.
he's out. He didn't travel with the team.
Oh, Mack is out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, guys. I think Shedro Louise is somebody we need to consider. Definitely a GPP at 4.2. I mean, he's not Dwayne McBride, don't get me wrong, but he's the most talented running back on this team, even with TJ Green coming over, transferring over from Power 5 program. I think Shedro Louise is an excellent option here because, I mean, Liberty's going to take this game, I think, and they're going to be running the ball. So we'll see. We'll see. If Malik Willis if he hesitates to run in this one, I think Shedro could have a big game, 4.2K. So I like him. I like Daniels somewhat. He's only 5% owned though. So in cash, it's a little dangerous going after him. If he doesn't do anything, we're going to be like stuck as the only ones that have him. And Kevin Shaw he's at 8K or 8%. So he's somebody that we can feel a little more confident about. But I do like Shedro Louise, man. I just got to say it. Got to throw it out there. But we probably need to keep those guys in GPPs,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
But I do like that. I mean, other than the Army game, which I don't know if Shadro played in that game or not, because there's no
Yeah,
stats for him. But
yeah,
before that, he had double digits in every game
yeah,
for the
yeah.
last 5 games. And so it's like he's doing that with TJ Green and Joshua Mack.
And
So I
Malik
mean,
Willis.
yeah. So I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that's a really good um it's a really good find there. What's he at? What's his ownership percentage at right now?
It's at 4%. It's probably going to go up though. I think
Yeah.
when people start to notice that. So I think we're start because I mean I didn't even see that about Joshua Mack. Is that in the news on here? Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
he declared for the NFL draft. I'm surprised there's no out symbol there. I see it on his profile, but it's not next to his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if people they'll probably look at Joshua Mack and just be like, "Ugh, I'm not touching him," and then not even notice that he's going to be out. So we'll see. We'll see. I think Shedro is a guy that his ownership's going to go up for the few that do notice that. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I like him. I don't like him as much as Dwayne McBride or Ronnie Rivers, but I do like him.
Yeah.
Because it's I mean, even if they don't use Malik Willis that much, we can probably count on him getting 17 to 20 carries in this game, which is kind of crazy that a guy that had first round future potential for the NFL has been running this much and putting that wear and tear on his body. And obviously, it did some damage with his ankle. But
Right.
anyway, let's move ahead to the Utah State Aggies. They're going up against the Oregon State Beavers. I like this matchup. The matchmakers, the decision makers here in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, my favorite, presented by Stifle. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I think the dude's hilarious. I
Yeah.
love his how he's like, it's really dry comedy, but I've always been a fan. I mean, everyone loves him. He's a great guy. I think some of his skits are good. He can sing too, man. Dude can sing. He's just so talented, and I love the fact. But this isn't supposed to be about Jimmy Kimmel. This is Jimmy Kimmel is it's about helping underprivileged children. This bowl game is, a lot of the profits from this game are going to help underprivileged children, and Jimmy Kimmel is behind a lot of that. So that's more what it's about. But there's also a football game involved here, right? Inglewood, California, 7:30 p.m. start, SoFi Stadium. Yeah, I love this matchup, guys. I can't wait to watch this game. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I like both of these offenses. I think Chance Nolan, he's not. I'm not gonna call him an NFL quarterback. No, no. He may end up getting on a roster. I think he's more of a practice squad guy, but I still think he's fun to watch. And he's efficient and everything. But this Utah State team, man, was that they obliterated San Diego State.
Yeah.
And San Diego State was a legitimate defense, man. And they've always been one of the top running teams in the country, it seems, from a year to year basis. So, wow, what they did to them. I mean, that is something. That is something. So, I think this is going to be a good matchup because Oregon State, I mean, they've not been a dominant team here coming out of the Power Five. So, don't be afraid. But they have played the 59th most difficult schedule, whereas Utah State's at 98th, but we kind of expect that at 98th with a group of five teams. So,
Yeah.
nothing big there. But I'll say that San Diego State win was impressive. So Oregon State, they're favored by a touchdown, which I don't see it, man. It's 67 and a half point over under, but that's come down some. So I think people are starting to recognize, hey, man, this Utah State team, this isn't just going to be about offense from Utah State. Their defense has been playing
Hmm.
better. So Josh, why don't you go over your plays for us?
Yeah. So I think in this game, I'll start on the Oregon State side of things. I really like BJ Baylor in this game.
Mhm.
I think he's going to have some success with. Deshaun Fenwick is questionable, and it sounds like he's more on the doubtful side of things. And BJ Baylor's been taking over the carries more as the season's gone on. I think he led the entire Pac-12 in rushing yards this year. But I really, really like BJ Baylor in this game. Utah State,
Is he your
Ephraim
lock of the
Banda,
week?
he is not my lock of the. Well, who's your lock of the week? We'll have to talk
Uh,
about that later.
I went with Dwayne McBride, but I understand if that's who you wanted. Did you say
No,
that you?
I'll take Baylor. Yeah, I'll take
Okay,
Baylor for sure.
okay,
Oh no, actually, Amani Bailey is going to be mine. So
okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, we'll get there though. But yeah, BJ Baylor. I mean, so Ephraim Banda again, Manny Diaz disciple. They struggle to stop the run because they just shoot the gaps with their linemen so much and
Mhm.
they're so aggressive that there's gonna be some gaps that BJ Baylor with his vision is gonna be able to exploit in this game. So I really, really like him. And this offensive line is really good. It's one of the best offensive lines as far as statistically, with run blocking. So I think that they're going to be able to have some success here. I like BJ Baylor a lot. I cash GPP, throw him in whatever. He does have a little bit of his one downside is they don't throw the ball to him a lot. Although I think he can catch the ball, um, but they don't throw the ball a lot to the running backs, and so that's a little bit of a downside for him. But he's going to get stats. And also, Jack Coletto comes in and steals vultures on the goal line as well. So, but overall, I mean, cash lineup, I really like BJ Baylor quite a bit. Chance Nolan, I'm fading the passing game overall. I mean, Trevon Bradford is a guy that you could go after in GPP. He's had some pretty decent games. for the Beavers, um, but overall, yeah, Trevon Bradford GPP for me, but everybody else I'd be fading on that side. And then on the other side of things, Utah State, yeah, like this passing game, I think like Logan Bonner is great value at 7.7K. And since they settled in on him as quarterback, um, he's just he's produced, right? I mean, he's just had some incredible games over the last few weeks, including against a really good San Diego State defense. So I think yeah, his number. I mean, listen to these touchdowns over the last 5 games: 4 touchdowns, 2, 5, 4. I mean, so you just look at that. He's just been putting up numbers. He's had 25 at least 19 fantasy points in every game over the last 5 games, 3 games over 30, and then the other game was 25. So, I think he's a lock to hit value here. So he's cash GPP. I have him in every cash lineup I have going, and GPP lineup for that matter. I've built my lineups around him. So I really like Logan Bonner. Um, as far as wide receivers go, man, I think you could play Bowling, Wright, or Tompkins. I think I would feel comfortable with all those guys in GPP for sure. Um, and then, yeah, I would feel probably most comfortable with Tompkins and Cash of those three. But I mean, he's as Bonner's throwing touchdowns, he's throwing it to these three guys essentially, right? Bowling and Tompkins. Tompkins, as over these last few weeks, I think teams have just focused on taking him out. So his production has dipped a little bit as far as his touchdowns, but he's still getting, he had 9 catches in this last game. So, um, but um, but yeah, I think Tompkins is a guy that, man, he can go off for a ton of points, especially against this Oregon State defense. It's given up 247 yards passing per game, and they don't look good either. Like when you watch them play, um, like there's a lot of open wide receivers running around. So I don't think that they're going to be able to come up with enough of a game plan to stop Tompkins. So he's a guy that I trust cash GPP. I mean, he's overall wide receiver 3 in fantasy points this year, 96 receptions, 1,600 yards. So yeah, I like Tompkins a lot as a number 1 receiver in this offense. So, and then I'm fading the Utah State running game. I just think they're gonna air it out and do what a Blake Anderson offense does. So that's it for me.
Okay, so yeah, this I mean, neither of these teams have played that difficult of a schedule. But Bonner, man, I'm blown away by the fact that he was basically in a timeshare with Peasley up until he kind of took that away and ran with the job. But so Bonner's he's going to be owned in a third of lineups, and I think that he's the guy on this slate that is should be owned around 60%, like Malik Willis. So for me, I mean, there's 3 locks at quarterback this week to at least hit value. I mean, Willis, he's going to carry the ball 20 times a game, 20 times. We can almost guarantee that. And then Bonner, obviously, and then the other guy is Hayner, and we really don't know about his status yet. And everyone else outside of that is just kind of there's some unknowns with them. So I think Bonner is the guy that you lock into your lineup and in cash, and there you do not even reconsider it. He's playing so well, so well. And the thing about it is he's got 4 wide receivers that have the potential to go off here. But Devin Tompkins, man, he's gonna be owning 50% of lineups. He just has to be locked in to our cash
Yeah.
lineups. There's just no way around it. Because like like last game when he had 9 receptions. I mean, it's guaranteed he's gonna come close to value. We only need 22 points, or so to cover value, and he's gonna get that. So Tompkins has got to be locked in there, and right alongside Bonner. But I like Bonner enough to say that I like Brandon Bowling and I like Derek Wright. Derek Wright's gonna be
Yeah.
22% owned. and Brandon Bowling is going to be 10% owned. I mean, I think all four of these guys are cash, but Bowling's ownership is lower, so he's got to be. Even though I like him actually more than I do like Wright, I think Tompkins and Wright are the two guys that we give the most consideration in cash to. Tompkins, there's no consideration; he's locked. But I totally agree about Calvin Tyler. They're not running the ball enough. Let's see what the percentage is. Let's see, they run on 45% compared to Oregon State. They run at 55%. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea. It's like the opposite here. You got a passing offense against a rushing offense. But on the other side, though, I do like Chance Nolan. He's going to be 21% owned. I think if you don't want to go with Malik Willis, you want to avoid that 8.6K salary, and let's say we don't get definitive word on Jake Hayner, then where else are we going to go at quarterback for our super flex? And Chance Nolan, I mean, he's not cheap at 7K, but there aren't any really good cheap options that you would consider in your cash lineups. So I think Chance Nolan is actually kind of cheap at 7K, 21%. He did well. He played against Stanford and Oregon, which I mean, they're not the greatest passing defenses, but he did almost put up 20 against California, and went for 17 against Colorado. I mean, that's not great, but Colorado's defense was decent, and so was Cal's. But he struggled against Arizona State, but they've got one of the best cornerback group and definitely in the Pac-12, and I don't know where I would rank them overall, but definitely a really good pass defense for Arizona State. So I'm not surprised about that. Don't hold that one against him. And then you also have to consider the fact that he's dealt with a situation where he had to overcome shoot, I forget his name for Oregon State here. Neuer, Sam Neuer came over from Colorado, and Tristan Gebbia was the incumbent coming in. So that so he but he's coming away with the job here. I think he's averaging 18 points a game. So I think he's somebody that we can consider at 7K. And then Bradford, he's been very volatile. He's only going to be 10% owned. He's more of a GPP guy. BJ Baylor is going to be at 44% owned. So
Jeez.
he's one of the guys I was talking about that you just got to put him in, because he's gonna do well against this team. I believe they're one thing, Utah State, they're the 100th ranked pass defense. That's what I settled on. But their run defense. Let's see. They, like I said, though, they're concerned. They shut down San Diego State, but BJ Baylor doesn't play for San Diego State. They're sitting at around like 80, 85%, 80, the 85th best team. So I think BJ Baylor is a guy that we have to put in our lineups. But here's a guy for the GPP faithful out there, Trey Lowe. I think he's been coming in and filling in behind Baylor for Fenwick, and I think and he's done well. He's put up some decent numbers. He's only 3.2K. So we only need 9 points out of him to cover value, 9.6. And he's a Washington transfer. So if this Utah State defense if they flatline here, then it could be a good stab on low in a GPP. But other than that, that's all I have for that situation. Moving. Oh, and one other thing I did want to add is we have three of the top 10 ranked run blocking teams
Hmm.
in these 5 games. Like you said, so the best in the country is Louisiana. They've been their offensive line is disgusting. But then we've also got Oregon State coming in at number 6, and we got BYU at number 10. So that's crazy stat there. So jumping ahead, and speak of the devil, we've got Louisiana Raging Cajuns at the Marshall Thundering Herd in the RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. It's going to be a 9:15 p.m. kickoff at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And I've already said that I think Louisiana takes this one against the spread here. I think Marshall's they're 7-5. I mean, they just haven't been the same type of team that we've expected. And then their quarterback Grant Wells has been just a dud under pressure this year. You just 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 a waste of space. Josh, and then as far as the spread, do you have the spread totals? I didn't write those down here. Must have forgot.
I don't have, well, let me see. Hold on. The spread total for
In the
that
over
game
under and
is
stuff.
5.5. And then the
Five
over
and
under is 54.5. Yeah. It might be
54.
down to 4 on Marshall Lafayette. Actually, yeah.
Yeah,
But
four.
it's,
That's right. I knew that. The over under, that's the one I
sorry,
didn't.
over under is 55.5.
55 and a half. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you go over the plays here for us?
Yeah. Which is crazy because I mean, it started at 51.5 and
Yeah.
it's creeped up to 55. So people are seeing, seeing the matchup. And speaking of which, um, yeah, so I really like, I'll start with the Louisiana side of things. I mean, it's all about the running game here for me.
Hmm.
I'm fading Levi Lewis to 7.1K, and their receivers.
Yeah.
But with Chris Smith out, I mean, Amani Bailey has, I mean, with Chris Smith there, Amani Bailey has done great things, but with him out, I think last game, Amani Bailey at 5.2K, he had 14 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. And, you know, this is a guy that going into the season, like he won the most valuable player for their spring football, kind of coming out of spring camp. So the coaches were raving about this guy, and then he got hurt, and you know they ran him three-headed monster. But Amani Bailey is super talented, and so the last 3 weeks he's had at least 13 carries a game. Week 12 he had 60 yards. Week 13 61, and then he had 117, all with a touchdown. And they had 6 receptions. So he had 16.2 points, 15.3, and then 26.6. That's all again with Montreal Johnson and Chris Smith there. So I like him a lot in cash and GPP. I mean, I think he could really have a solid game here against a Marshall team that's given up 188 yards on the ground a game. And so I like him a lot. I think Montreal Johnson, whether you want to play him with or without Imani Bailey, I think he's also in play here. Whenever it's when so Amani Bailey was injured earlier in the year, and it was just Montreal and Chris. He was getting double-digit carries a game, and he was really producing well when he was getting those carries. And so I like him a lot. I mean, he's at 4K. He's averaging 12.3 fantasy points per game on the year, and so I like him a lot. He's a bigger back. He's a true freshman, bigger back. So he gets a lot of goal line carries as well. So Montreal is definitely a guy that I would like at 4K. So both those running backs are in play here. I mean, I think they're going to stick with their bread and butter and what they do, because that's what Louisiana does. And so on the other side of things, I mean, Rasheen Ali, the name of the game. I mean, he's a top player on that side for me, and he's at 7.5K. But I think he's definitely in play. He's a guy that he just they love to run the ball with him, particularly in the red zone. 21 touchdowns on the year. A lot of those are from pretty close in as well. And so I think he's averaging almost, I think, 19 carries a game or so. So he's a workhorse for them. And he's had, I don't know what his total is for the year, but he's getting, actually, let me get it here. He's got 44 receptions on the year. So he's almost, what, 3.6 receptions per game. So he's getting you PPR value there as well. So Rasheen Ali, 7.5K. I mean, he's got to be a lock in this one, even if Louisiana's, they're good defensively, but I think Rasheen Ali's got so many ways to hit value, whether it's touchdowns or receptions. And then passing game, Grant Wells, he's averaging, I was shocked to see this, but I didn't know he's averaging 310 passing yards per game because he's just so bad in every other aspect of being a quarterback. I mean, I really credit Cramsey with that. I know you want to say something. What you got?
Yeah, I mean the guy is, yeah, he's averaging over 300 yards a game, but only 21 points a game,
Yeah.
and that speaks a lot. And then I'd like to see his number if we take away what he did against North Carolina or who is that, NCCT, North
Yeah.
Carolina
North Carolina
Central.
A&T. North
Oh,
Carolina A&T.
Okay,
right?
and then he put up 28 against East Carolina, and then he put up 40 against North Texas. The rest of the year he's flopped, man. Under 20 points in one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 games.
Yeah.
And he comes in at 8.3K. I don't care what he's done or what he's averaging. That is those are and the numbers, the 5% ownership. I don't think anybody's buying it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a hard fade, pretty obvious. And then I think wide receivers as well there. They distribute it. He's another point guard. It's a Cramsey way. Tim Cramsey is the offensive coordinator. He's from Sam Houston State. That's what he does. He distributes to a ton of different wide receivers. And so Corey Gamage was the only one you can consider, but at 6.8K, he's too high for cash or GPP. So
Yeah.
what you got?
Okay, yeah, basically just mirror everything you said. Imani Bailey, Montreal Johnson, they're the two guys that we want to focus our attention on the Raging Cajun side. Montreal, he's going to be the early down, short yardage guy, but Imani Bailey, man, he's legit. This guy might have some NFL potential. We need to see more. It's too early right now. Because even though they're definitely 12-1. I mean they're a ranked team here. It's not like they've played the most difficult. They played the 127th most difficult schedule. So let's not get too carried away. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
Marshall's any better at 112th. You know, but Bailey and Johnson are the guys that you want to focus on for Louisiana, and they're going to take this game. They're going to beat Marshall, and it's a situation where both of those guys are going to be fed the rock. So Bailey's come in 32% ownership. Montreal Johnson's coming in at 29. So most of the field agrees that these two guys both need to be considered. Levi Lewis, I mean, it just really speaks to how few quarterback options we have on this 5-game slate. Which big surprise there. We have 5 quarterbacks, or excuse me, we have 10
Yeah.
quarterbacks, and but he's at 14% ownership. So I mean, it's just crazy because he doesn't throw the ball very much, and when he does, it's not that great. But then on the other side, yeah, I mean, nobody likes Grant Wells, and then Corey Gamage. He's at 18%. I guess he's the one receiver from this game that you could consider because he does get the most volume. But Rasheen Ali's at 41%, and that, I mean, he was a beast this year. He's the guy. I mean, he's got 30 fantasy points on him. And I'm pretty sure he's been consistent. I had him in a couple of fantasy rosters where I could get him. Let's see, he went for 46, 34, 30, 33, 32, 41, 42. I mean, this guy is, I don't care who they're playing against. And he's basically the focal point of the offense, which is crazy considering how many passing yards that Wells went for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's look at one game though here. UAB, yeah, he only went for 10 points, and that was a legitimate run defense. And Louisiana, they're a top 20 defense here. They're actually not even as good as UAB. So we'll see if they get behind early here. Rasheen could he could take a back seat. But then again, that they went up against Florida Atlantic, had a good defense, 34 points. Middle Tennessee, which they just beat Toledo, and he went for 41 there. So he's definitely somebody that I think that we can. That I mean, he's good enough at 41% ownership and only 7.5K that I think we do need to have him in our cash lineup. Um, but I mean, you almost have to flip the coin. Is it gonna be him, or is it gonna be BJ Baylor? Baylor's at
Right.
6.7K. And if you can't fit them both in there, it's gonna be tough. That's what we have there. So before we get into looking at some news, let's get into our positional locks here. So right now I have Dwayne McBride at running back, and then Jacob Cowing at wide receiver. You have Amani Bailey at running back, and Puka Nakua as your wide receiver. But here's the tough one. It's like, which one of us gets to pick shoot Logan Bonner? That's the tough one.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's who you want, and I'm just going to give him to you because he's obviously the guy there. What's he priced at?
He is at 7.7K.
And that's the guy you want, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so without him, I mean, I could take the easy road and just go Malik Willis because I mean everyone's going to have him. But I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna without knowing what Jake Hayner is going to do, and
Right.
so that's a situation that would make this pretty easy for me. I guess I'm going to have to go with Chance Nolan as my lock. Yeah, I don't love it. He's not the kind of lock I would normally go with, but it's a situation where only one of us can have Logan Bonner. So he would obviously be the lock for both of us. So let's see what we can find though. Let's answer some questions, and then let's see what we can find on the news wire on this, because I'm sure that it's going to get we're going to get some good stuff here. Um,
Yeah.
so let's see, two favorite GPP QB wide receiver stacks. How about you go? You come up with one, and I'll come up with another one.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for me, it would probably be Hall, Jaron Hall, and probably Keanu Hill would be my favorite GPP stack. I think that'll have what
Yeah.
is Hill's ownership percentage at? It's pretty low, right?
Yeah, let me see here. It is at 4%. Hall's at
Yeah.
23%. I considered Hall as my quarterback lock. And I do think he'll get to at least 21 points here. It's just this UAB defense does concern me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of why I'm going the Nolan route instead. I may regret that one, but I guess if I'm going to throw one in, it's going to be Nolan and Bradford here. Let's see,
Hmm.
Bradford's at 10%. Let's see, I'll try. Let me look and see if I can find. How about you come up with another question, and I'll see if I can find a better one than that.
Yeah. Another question out there was three favorite GPP wide receivers regardless of pricing. So I like Cowing um there as definitely one. Um I
He'll be
think
at 12%. Yeah, so he's good. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I
Um
cannot believe that. I really can't.
yeah, man, that's insane. I like Brandon Bowling a lot too as
Hmm.
a GPP wide receiver. I think you said he was at 10% earlier.
10%. Yeah.
And I love that when you figure out the one guy, like they went right over then Tompkins, the best or the worst of those three. And I like Bowling splitting the pair.
Yeah, it's so hard to come up with good GPP stabs because of the quarterback situation, because they're all going to be around 20% ownership. The ones that you would even consider putting in a lineup. Man, if you're going to go completely, if you want just like a large field, completely out of nowhere stab, um, I love the Jalen Hall or Jaron Hall, excuse me, and Keanu Hill one. Um, but yeah, man, I guess Ben Bryant, he's only going to
Mm,
be 10% owned, and then a guy like Dylan Drummond, I don't love it.
yeah,
Um, but it's I mean, you could go Malik Willis and throw in CJ Daniels is only 5%.
yeah,
But is the Malik Willis, is he going to be so highly owned that that completely eliminates it? So it's like, do you want to go Ben Bryant and a Dylan Drummond and keep those percentages really low, or Chance Nolan at 21% and then going Trayvon Bradford at 10%? I think I like the Nolan Bradford connection. So that would probably be where I would go there as my favorite. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, let's see. Do you see any other questions there?
I am. Let's see. Maybe one. Well, somebody did say. Well, I guess never mind. They said they can't see the show today, so they asked a question, and I answered it. Favorite quarterback under 4,300. You got, or, sorry, wide receiver
Under
under.
4,300?
Yeah, I said Keanu Hill in the chat.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah,
guy.
that's a tough one because uh, you know, the, there are so few really solid underpriced wide receivers on this slate.
Right.
Justin McGriff at 4%.
Hmm.
He's been decent, and he's only 3.4K. And you mentioned Samson Nakua, who's going to be at 3K. Um,
Yeah.
let's see, you said 4.3.
Yeah.
Kevin Shaw, he's only 4.2,
Yeah.
but he is going to have 8% ownership. Let's see. So he might be my guy there. And you went with Keanu Hill,
Hmm.
and that's all I see. So yeah, Kevin Shaw is probably the other guy after Hill that
Yep.
that I would go with there. He's been pretty consistent. Um, and then I'm looking for some news here. Let's see, Jake Hayner. Get any latest information out of this guy? Yeah. And everyone else is asking the same questions that we are. Is he going to play? We hope he plays. That's what uh, that's what UTEP is saying. I don't think they're approaching that. I mean, I guess it's a good attitude to have, but uh,
Yeah.
you know, he's still making a decision. You know what? I think that right there is just it's Lee Marks trying to establish his authority with this team because he
It's
is
a
going to have.
yeah.
Yeah, he is going to have Jake Hayner on his roster next year. But I can't see a scenario where you don't play a guy. I think if he doesn't play Jake Hayner here, Hayner does transfer out, because I can't imagine playing a guy Logan Fife here. I just can't. I'm sorry. I don't see it as a reasonable option for a team. I mean, he threw 32 touchdowns this year. Plus, he was even more ridiculous last year. Almost threw for 4,000 passing yards this year. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine a scenario where Jake Hayner is not the starting quarterback, and to the point that I'm putting him down as my lock. I'm changing it from Chance Nolan to Jake Hayner. I don't. I think he's playing games with us. I really do, and I think he's trying to really establish his authority there as the new head coach. And we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it may come back to bite him if he does end up extending that to the point that he doesn't play Hayner in this spot.
Right. It's a
Um,
weird move.
it is. It is a weird move. I'm surprised he's not trying to earn more of the respect from his senior players than because Hayner could just declare for the draft as well. I
Right.
mean, he's an NFL guy. I mean, it's a lot of people like him. A lot of the scouting community likes him quite a bit. So I'm a little surprised by this move. And if he doesn't play, I think we're going to get the news. And it's the earliest game on the slate. So we're going to get that news before the game start. Before this slate
Right.
starts. So I think I'm comfortable with that because I don't feel bad saying, okay, let's wait till the second to last game, and my lock of the day is this quarterback that might not play. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think I can comfortably do that there, and not feel like I'm leading you guys down the wrong path. So yeah, that's where I'm going there. And then and that was really the only injury or the only question that we had as far as like, is this guy going to play?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Tom's Utopia. So like he remembers us saying we should have played everyone should play Rasheen Ali in week 1 when he was at 3K. And
Yeah.
it was so true. That was such a great week because I had a terrible week 0, but I had like I don't know 80% ownership of Rasheen Ali in my GPPs that week, and I came away with such a good profit. It was
That's
such a good
amazing.
Yeah, it was such a good week for me. I wish I could go back and just repeat that every week of the year.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah,
Those
that's all.
early weeks, man, people there's not stats out there to fact check who's starting and
It's so true. It's so true. And staying on top of stuff is so important early in the year. And same with the NFL. In the NFL, I mean, it's like the statistics as the years go. Excuse me, as the weeks go on, the data becomes so much more predictable. But early in the year, man, just knowing. knowing who the coaches like more is actually more important, because for a lot of situations with such high coaching turnover, that just knowing who they trust early in the year is more important than the data early on. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of guesswork to it, and it's the same in college. It's just that information isn't as available. You don't coaches they're trying to play these stupid head games with each other that I think is ridiculous. And now that players are getting paid, I just can't imagine a scenario where the NCAA doesn't step in and force more accurate injury reporting, because I mean these guys they're taking money for their names. And I feel like it's their responsibility to report what's going on each game, because when as college football is accepting more and more of the money is wagering, and it's becoming more legal across the country. I feel like there's going to have to be a middle ground where they force the injury reporting to something similar that we see in the NFL. And it might be by a conference basis that we see it. But like conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten, I just can't imagine a scenario where they don't step in really soon and do something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, that's it. That's the 5 games, and we've covered. I mean, basically everything we can cover. I don't really think there's anything else to go over here. Do you have anything that we can finish off here?
No, I think that's it. I mean, it's excited to go see this Western Kentucky App State game. Sorry, 14-14 at the end of the first. So,
Yeah, it sucks. It was so early, because it'd been nice to have a 6 game on this
oh,
slate.
yeah,
It,
especially
you
that
know,
game.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why they made it so at 11:15 in the morning. I mean, it's crazy. And then yeah, I'm not seeing anything new coming over the wire here. The newest news I'm seeing here was the Joshua Mack thing. That was at 10:18.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there hasn't been anything since. So that's it. That's all we have,
Yeah.
and this is the last stream of the year. And it's been an honor to go over this with you, Josh, and to
Yeah.
have everyone that's come and participated and listened. And I think that we've done really well with the college product this year. I think it's going to grow moving forward. And I think everything is just always going to come down to the amount of the numbers that are interested in the offering. And we'll see where it goes from here. But man, Josh, I'll give you the opportunity to close this out for us, brother.
Yeah, man. My last thing would be like, hey, yeah, if you want to see this product grow, like buy that bowl guide. I think that's going to be a big part of moving forward. Like if we can get some momentum there, it'd be great for us. And it's $25 and you'll easily make that back in one of your leagues for sure. So between the player props and the against the spread picks and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Ben.
Ben, our guy behind the glass here, he said that it's the same price as some fancy latte that you can get at Starbucks. And it's so true. I mean, we go to Starbucks and don't even think about it, spending the money that we toss at those people. It's just ridiculous. So yeah. So go ahead,
And
Josh. I'm sorry.
all you get from Starbucks is just more empty calories. From this, you actually get money back.
Hey, don't talk badly of coffee, my brother. Don't do it.
hey,
uh,
hey, I got my Starbucks drinks right here. So
okay, there we go.
product
Yeah.
placement.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do without coffee, especially where I'm trying to get, my advanced matchups out early enough in the week for everyone to use it. And yeah, I put in some long hours on that. So yeah, coffee is my best friend, my very best friend.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you letting me do this with you this year. This has been so much fun. The one place I can actually just unload all of my like college football information that's in my head without, killing the conversation on the other end. So this has been phenomenal. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you doing this for me and just allowing me to be a part of this team.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I hate to say and so grateful for your participation, but I really feel like you've earned it, man. You've put in the amount of work that you put in is obvious, and I just I when I there's other guys that are right along there with with the amount of work that you and I put into college football that I would absolutely that deserve similar. But as far as like that plus attitude plus just consistently just the results that you have like in CFF. I mean, I was just blown away by the amount, and I could see a little bit. I could see myself in you, and like the amount of effort and how much you care about each of your leagues. And it's like I never give up. I don't care what my record is. I play to the last game of the year. I never punt a season. I don't care how good I can improve my standing moving forward. I never punt. I always play my best players and try to get the best record that I can get in every single league. And I see the same thing out of you. I've seen you come back from having like the worst team in the league at the beginning of the year and then somehow squeaking in to the playoffs and almost scoring the most points, even though your team sucked early in the year. It blows my mind. Mike Bainbridge, he's another one of those guys. Although I think Mike does he will tank there at the end sometimes if his team sucks. But Mike Bainbridge, he's another guy that I would include in that category. That
Yeah.
you never know what this guy's going to do. We're in this really competitive CFF league, and it's one where I commish. And Mike Bainbridge has been in the finals, not this year. He tanked this year. I'm going to accuse him of tanking this year.
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, he was in the finals every year for I don't know what 6 years in a row. I mean, it was crazy. I think he only won one title, but I mean, he was up there in the finals like almost every year. So Mike Bainbridge, he's a guy that he's another absolute must follow, who devotes his life to college football. He doesn't even touch it, NFL. Won't even come close to it.
Yeah.
But so that sucks because I can't have Debbie discussions with him. So I don't like that. He's like I try to talk to him about it, and he's like, I don't care. I don't. As soon as they leave college, they're dead to me. So
Yeah.
and I don't get it. It's like you put so much effort into these guys when they're in college. Well, how can you not carry that forward and see how they progress? But he just doesn't care, and he won't play in a Debbie league. I've tried over and over to get him to join one, but he won't do it. But yeah, love that guy. Mike Bainbridge is
Yeah. Great
he's
guy.
yeah, he's a good guy. And but yeah, so hey, we're 3 minutes past noon, which normally our cutoff. But I just want to say thank you to everybody again, and really looking forward to next year. We'll definitely be having the tailgate next year. I'll pound the table for it. No, they're not fighting me. They everyone appreciates it. Every one of our great five owners, they all love the tailgate and offering that to our subscribers. But I definitely want to see our product grow. So make sure you pass along word and get as many people as you can to tune in and to read all the stuff that Josh puts out. And hopefully in the future I can squeeze some extra time to the side to do a little more college writing myself. But that's all for us today. So good luck this week, and hopefully we see some screenshots out there of some winnings.
Yeah. That's great.